the formal portion of our debate. Please note that the questions put forth to the candidates are intended to inform the voters of the candidate's position. Each candidate will have a minute and a half to respond. No two questions are alike. The choice of the question is totally random. For this part of the debate, I'll need an impartial volunteer from the audience to draw the questions from the box.
If you're impartial, you're going to get attacked after this, just by the way.
That's right. So you can raise your hand, but I think I would prefer to go out in the audience and grab some, so I'm going to do that.
Deputy Superintendent.
He wants to know for how long. Okay. What's your name? Laura. A round of applause for Laura. So what I'm going to do is going to have Laura go ahead and pick the question out. And the first respondent is going to be, once again, Walt Patterson. So hold on. Thank you. It's going to be easy to remember the name. It's the same name as my wife. Mr. Patterson, would you have supported a gas tax increase? Why or why not?
I would not have supported a gas tax increase. I think the gas tax is a broad-based tax on our citizens, and I think the intent of the tax was to fix our roads and bridges. The fact of the matter is, we do need to make investments in our infrastructure, but we didn't need a gas tax. If we had simply taken the money that we divert every year out of the highway fund and applied it to the roads and bridges, it's about $35 million a year. The gas tax is about $32 billion a year. If we had just not diverted the funds out of that highway fund, we'd have plenty to fix the roads and bridges and make the proper investments. So I was opposed to the gas tax.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson. Next question, please, Laura. This question is for Mr. Hemingway. Mr. Hemingway, what is your position on the Common Core standards? Please explain.
And I was worried you guys were going to ask hard questions tonight. It's very simple. I'm opposed to Common Core. I mean, do we need to try more federal education programs to figure out that they don't work? Right? There's one for almost every finger, almost every toe now. Every president comes in with their own new marketing phrases, and all the time it's the same thing. Let's dangle a few federal dollars and get the states to ultimately trade their sovereignty in exchange for a few federal dollars. This is wrong. New Hampshire has had historically a very strong education system. And the more that we have outsourced that education system to the federal government, the lower and the lower and the lower you see our test scores going, and all the while the higher we see our costs increasing. Again, we need to be open to the school choice. We need to empower the elected officials at the local level, the school board. Re-empower them like our Constitution has dictated. Open up our arms wide to school choice. Allow, once again, parents and children to make decisions about what is best for their ultimate course of education. We don't need bureaucrats to tell us how to do that. We need a government who's willing to stand up to Washington. I echo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hemingway. Once again, Mr. Patterson. New Hampshire's pension liability is an ongoing problem. Do you see a solution?
Yes, it is definitely an ongoing problem. What a lot of people don't realize, when our bonding rating forecast got downgraded in April, there were 3 reasons that it got downgraded. Most people think it had to do with the MET tax situation. It was really driven by the fact that we don't have any money in our rainy day fund, and that we have an over $4.5 billion pension liability. We're going to have to fix that. We're going to have to lean into it and fix it. We've been kicking this can down the road far too long. Leader after leader, I would say this leader after this leader, has not addressed this issue. We've got to address it. It's going to mean we're going to have to look at some innovative ways just like we had to at VA systems, when we had to shore up our underfunded pension liability. But we did. We took the hard choices. We put money into the program. Over time, we transitioned from a defined benefit program to a defined contribution program that kept our promise to our employees, just like we need to keep our promise to our current state and municipal employees, but at the same time transitioning to a more reliable, predictable future when it came to our pension liability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashburn. Mr. Hemingway, would you support expansion of the gambling industry in New Hampshire, and please explain?
Thank you very much. New Hampshire is one of the first states to pass and authorize a state-run gaming operation. You can sell lottery tickets on every street corner all across the state of New Hampshire. The current proposal around expanded gaming is one of pure political opportunity. We have a governor with tunnel vision. The tunnel vision being set firmly on campaign donations. Okay? And she is saying, let's continue to put forward the same scale proposal around gaming. What does this proposal do? It builds one massive Las Vegas-style casino in one location, right? Awards one contract with one company. There's a reason that our governor is known as Monopoly Magnet. Everything she touches ultimately turns into a monopoly. And this gaming is one of those perfect examples of that. I have put forward a proposal that lays out a new way to do this. It takes the existing structure of charity gaming in our state and allows them, the municipalities, to ultimately have a say on the types of games and how this project will be expanded. See, I don't think the state needs to be involved in this. Let the municipalities and let the charity gaming operators that are currently in the state make those decisions. And that's what we would do. You can go to my website, andrewhemingway.com, to see this proposal, see how it would increase revenue to the small business owners, to the towns, and ultimately to the state.
Thank you, Mr. Hemingway. Next question, once again, is for Mr. Haberstein. Should the study of American history be required in public schools? Why or why not?
You have a tip. Should absolutely be required. But it should be required of the real history. It should be required to rewrite history. And we know exactly what that is. It is essential that our young people know where we come from, because that helps shape where we're going. I know where I come from. That's what shaped me as a Marine. That's what shaped me as a leader. That's what shaped me as a citizen. That's what shapes me today as an American. So when it comes to history, history must be part of the fabric of our education. And it should be traditional history. Let's not try and rewrite the history books every 5 years. And it's not the direction.
Once again, a couple things I must ask you to refrain from applying during the actual question portion. That's for both candidates. And the candidates were so efficient with their answers, we actually have time for one more question for each candidate. Actually, excuse me, Andrew, you have one more question. I'll do as well. Wait, anyway, recent projects promoted by the regional planning boards, such as Route 108 Scenic Highway Project, invoke eminent domain. What is your interpretation of eminent domain?
Well, let's talk about regional planning commissions before we jump into my definition of eminent domain. We all have heard, or I hope that we have heard of Agenda 21. It's passed by the UN ultimately, and was issued into federal law by President Bill Clinton, and it's come down through the channels into New Hampshire through a project, through a group called Granite State Futures. Granite State Futures looks to put groups together in regional clusters. Ultimately, their ability is to usurp local authority, usurp towns, essentially, and exert authority over those by, again, dangling grants, dangling dollars in front of towns in exchange for all sovereignty, all rights. Okay? This is why you start to see in the news ideas about taxing rainwater runoff, right? Ray Bernard decides to keep a bottle of rainwater now, water collection on his property, they can tax him for it. Right? That comes through regional planning commission. That comes ultimately from the UN. So this is an issue of national sovereignty and of state sovereignty. Governor, I would assert the 10th Amendment. I would say no to Washington and any of their crazy laws that they try to take over New Hampshire sovereignty. And I would enforce and start to say to towns, you need to stand up for this. Eminent domain, in my opinion, is immoral. Right? We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When that was written, what was it talking about? The right of property ownership. The right to own my property. That doesn't give the right to anyone to take it away from us.
Thank you, Mr. Everyone.
Cooked.